It was raining when little Emily stepped off the city bus with a folder clutched tightly in her small hands. The papers inside were smudged at the edges, and her shoes were soaked from puddles, but she didn't seem to mind. She stared up at the tall building in front of her, Hamilton Enterprises, the name gleaming in steel letters. She looked out of place among the suits and ties rushing past her. At only 9 years old, with 2 braids and a determined face, she didn't belong in a corporate building. But Emily had a mission. Her mother, Claire, was supposed to be here today. She had applied for a secretarial position after months of searching. But this morning, her mother collapsed on the kitchen floor, her body weak from untreated pneumonia and stress. Emily had seen too much suffering in recent months. She wasn't going to let this job slip through their fingers. So she took the folder, put on her best sweater, and boarded a bus. The receptionist stared when Emily walked in. "Sweetie, are you lost?" she asked kindly. "No, ma'am. I'm here for the 11:30 interview for Claire Thompson," Emily said, standing on tiptoe to place the folder on the counter. "My mom is sick. I came instead." The receptionist blinked. "You came instead?" Emily nodded firmly. She worked really hard on the application, and I've heard her practice all her answers. "I can do it. Please don't throw this chance away." Before the woman could object, a voice interrupted. "Is everything all right here?" said a tall man in an expensive gray suit. The receptionist stood. "Mr. Hamilton." "Sir, this little girl." "I'm here for the interview." Emily interrupted again. "My mom is really sick, but she needs this job." I know everything she was going to say. I even memorized her resume. The CEO, Nicholas Hamilton, arched an eyebrow. "You're Claire Thompson's daughter?" "Yes, sir." Something about her eyes stopped him. They were fierce, determined, not like a child begging for candy, but like someone fighting for survival. He looked at the receptionist and gave a simple nod. "Show her in." Inside the massive boardroom, Emily sat at the edge of a chair too big for her. Her legs dangled. Nicholas Hamilton sat across from her, intrigued. "All right," he said, folding his hands. "Tell me, why do you think your mom is a good fit for this job?" Emily took a deep breath. "My mom is the hardest worker I've ever seen. She types fast, she's organized, and she can multitask even when she's tired or sick. She worked night shifts at a diner just to feed me and still help me with homework at 2 a.m. This job, it's not just a job to her. It's hope." Nicholas tilted his head. "Hope? She wants to get me into a better school," Emily explained. "One where I won't be bullied because we're poor. And she wants to stop worrying about rent or medicine. This job would let her finally breathe." Nicholas leaned back in his chair. He had interviewed hundreds of candidates, but never had one left his throat tight. "Tell me something not on the resume," he asked. "Something I won't find in any document." Emily's eyes lit up. "She makes the best grilled cheese sandwiches. She cuts the crust off because I don't like it. And when I'm sad, she doesn't talk. She just holds me until I feel better. She's not just a great worker, sir. She's a great person." For a moment, there was silence. Then Nicholas cleared his throat and stood. "Thank you, Emily." Her small shoulders drooped. "That's it." He smiled. "That's it." Back home, Claire was pale and coughing violently when Emily returned. She cried when she found out what her daughter had done. "Emily, you could have gotten hurt. But I didn't. And I told them everything. I think he liked it." Claire hugged her tightly. "You're my brave little girl." The next morning, a knock echoed through their small apartment. Emily opened the door. Nicholas Hamilton stood there, holding a brown envelope. Claire rushed from the bedroom, shocked and embarrassed in her robe. I'm sorry for the trouble." He raised a hand. "No trouble. I came to offer you the job." Claire gasped. "What? I don't normally do this in person," Nicholas said. "But your daughter reminded me of something important. That resumes don't always show heart." He handed Claire the envelope. "It's yours. Full-time. Health benefits. And I've arranged for immediate medical attention for you." Claire's eyes welled up. "I don't know what to say." "Thank your daughter," he said with a rare smile. Emily beamed. As Nicholas turned to leave, he added, "She said this job was hope. Let's make sure that's exactly what it becomes." A week after Emily's unexpected interview, Claire Thompson started her new job at Hamilton Enterprises. She was now the executive assistant to none other than Nicholas Hamilton himself. It was a whirlwind, from applying as a desperate single mom to walking into a glass office tower with a badge around her neck, escorted by security, with people nodding respectfully. Her first paycheck alone had been more than 2 months' rent. But it wasn't just the job that changed. It was Nicholas Hamilton, too. The man known for being cold, ruthless, and entirely disconnected from emotion had begun to smile. Claire wasn't the typical assistant. She didn't try to impress him with fake compliments or office gossip. She did her job quietly, with grace. She organized his calendar, prepared reports, and somehow remembered every small detail, including that he preferred his espresso at exactly 9:15 and that he hated small talk during meetings. But what struck Nicholas most wasn't Claire's efficiency. It was her daughter, Emily. Almost every evening, Claire would bring Emily with her for a short visit before they went home. Emily would sit in the corner of the office, drawing or reading while her mom wrapped up work. "Good evening, Mr. Hamilton," she'd chirp. She'd bring him cookies sometimes, unevenly shaped, overly sweet ones she baked with her mom. He never said no. Once, she handed him a small crayon drawing with a stick figure of him holding hands with her and Claire. Nicholas stared at it long after she left. He didn't understand it. He wasn't used to warmth. One night, after a grueling board meeting where shareholders threatened to pull funding for a charitable wing of the company, Nicholas sat in silence in his office, staring at spreadsheets and projections. Emily quietly came in and placed a jelly bean on his desk. "What's this?" he asked, blinking. "When I feel like crying, I eat a jelly bean," she said wisely. "Makes me feel better." He looked at the tiny candy in his palm, and for the first time in a decade, he laughed. The changes began slowly. Nicholas reinstated the charitable wing. Then he gave surprise bonuses to the janitorial staff. Then, most shockingly, he canceled a long-expected round of layoffs and instead created part-time roles for single parents with flexible hours. People at the office were stunned. What happened to him? They whispered. Did he hit his head? Or fall in love? But no one knew the truth. Nicholas Hamilton had remembered what it meant to be human, and it all started with a little girl who came to an interview in place of her sick mother. One afternoon, Nicholas called Claire into his office. "I want to ask you something personal," he said, folding his hands. Claire, startled, nodded slowly. "Of course. Your daughter," he paused. "She's brilliant. The way she reads people. Her emotional intelligence is remarkable." Claire smiled proudly. "She's my miracle." "I've been thinking," Nicholas continued. "I never had a family. My childhood was different. Cold. Corporate. My father raised me with spreadsheets, not bedtime stories." "I'm sorry," Claire said gently. He met her eyes. "You gave your daughter love, even when you had nothing." She nodded slowly, confused. Nicholas looked away. "What if I sponsored Emily's education?" Claire froze. "I'd like to send her to the best private school. Tutoring. Anything she needs. She deserves a future worthy of her heart." Tears welled up in Claire's eyes. "Mr. Hamilton, I don't know what to say." "Say yes," he said simply. The months flew by. Emily was enrolled in one of the most prestigious academies in the city. She wore a blazer and tie now, carried a laptop, and still managed to sneak cookies to Nicholas's office every Friday. She called him Mr. Jellybean, and he didn't mind. In fact, he began to look forward to Fridays. Then one day, everything changed. Nicholas collapsed during a board meeting. He was rushed to the hospital. The doctors diagnosed a cardiac event brought on by years of stress and poor sleep. He woke up in a sterile white room, wires attached to his chest, and his assistant Claire sitting beside him, holding his hand. "I thought I told you to cancel all my meetings today," he rasped weakly. "You're not invincible," Claire said, wiping a tear. "You need rest." For the first time in his life, Nicholas Hamilton felt something he had buried for years. Fear, vulnerability, but also connection. When he was discharged days later, Emily came running into his arms, sobbing. "You scared me." He hugged her back tightly. "I'm not going anywhere," he whispered. "I promise." Over the next year, Nicholas transformed. Not just as a boss, but as a person. He started mentoring young entrepreneurs from poor communities. He funded after-school programs and single mother grants. He began hosting Bring Your Child to Work days, with Emily as the honorary helper. But perhaps most shocking to the media was the day he made a public statement at a corporate gala. "I used to think profit was the only thing that mattered," he said on stage. "Then a little girl walked into my office and reminded me that people matter more." He smiled down at the front row, where Claire and Emily sat. Claire beamed. Emily waved with a jelly bean in hand. The crowd applauded. 2 years later, Nicholas sat in the park,